Oh, my childhood, I can remember it. It was exciting. We lived on a great big farm, and we had to take care of all of the animals on the farm, the chickens, the goats, the sheep. I grew up with my maternal grandmother, and my maternal aunt, and my maternal uncle.
Oh.
Yes, I went there when I was the age of 3, and I went to the elementary schools in the islands. I did not return to the United States until 9 years of age. So I had 6 years upbringing in the island of Barbados.
Fantastic. Good for you. Are you one of several siblings?
Yes, I am. I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and all of us, we received our elementary school in the islands. And I don't know whether this is important or not, but all 3 of us got scholarships because we were so bright.
Oh.
And we had very high IQs.
Yes.
And that is attributable to my rearing in the British West Indies.
I see, because you feel that the school system is
yeah,
superior.
The school system was fantastic.
I see.
Really fantastic. My life, those early years of my life on the island of Barbados gave me the spirit, gave to me the spunk that was necessary to challenge all of these age-old traditions.
Yes.
And the thing, I was never afraid of anything. I was never afraid of anybody. And today it's the same way. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of anybody. You're going to hear from me. That's it.
With a smile on your face.
Yes,
right?
I always smile. My grandmother had a fantastic influence in my life. She would always check my homework. And she would, each night she would say, repeat it to me. And if I didn't stand up straight, she said, child, this is the way she talked. Child, you got to stand up straight. Let the world see you coming. And I would have to stand up straight. I think that's why I'm so erect.
Yes.
Yes. And she would say, and don't slur your words.
Yes.
She was very pretty. My grandmother, I would say that my granny had the greatest influence in my life. And then along came, when I came back to this country, 2 other women that influenced me a great deal. Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yes.
She said to me, you're smart. You're a very smart girl. But you must stand up and fight. I'll never forget her words. You must fight. You must fight. And the other woman who had a fantastic influence was Eleanor Roosevelt.
Really?
Eleanor Roosevelt came to New York City,
Yes.
and I was in a contest, a debating contest, and I won the debate in this whole city of New York. And she said to me, I'll never forget this tall woman, her hair in a chignon and this little pork pie hat on, and she was ugly. She was very ugly. But Eleanor, the moment she opened her mouth, you felt a warmth. It was beautiful. And she said to me, Shirley St. Hill, that is my maiden name, St. Hill. Shirley St. Hill, you're very smart. You're intelligent. You must fight. You must get up and don't let anybody stay in your way. Even a woman can do it. I wasn't always interested in politics, but I remember the turning point came when I was, I think I was a sophomore at Brooklyn College. And we had our political leader, a white gentleman, Stanley Steingut. I'll never forget him. The leader of the district came to give a lecture. And I remember it so well. He said, black people are now moving ahead. But there's going to be one basic truth that we are going to have to accept whether we want to or not. That black people cannot get ahead unless they have white people. I remember that. That stuck with me. And I said to myself, that's what you think. And it was a challenge from that time on. That really had an impact on me. If anybody would ask me, well, what was the greatest thing that stood in your way of trying to really move up politically, I would have to say men. White men, black men, Puerto Ricans, men.
Men.
That's all. They gave me a hard time because they said one thing about Shirley Chisholm, she's too darn outspoken. And she's always raising questions. She never keeps quiet. And that's why. And what happened in the neighborhood, you found the white men, the Puerto Rican men, and the black men all had their own little caucuses to decide to get together and see what we can do about this woman that's moving out called Shirley Chisholm.
And what is the definition of being too outspoken?
Oh, God, let's not talk about that.
Yes.
They try to keep me down, keep me back. They use all kinds of tactics. But the thing about it, I was never afraid of men.
Yes.
Never afraid of men. And I think it was attributable to two things. I'm very friendly.
Yes.
I'm very outgoing.
Yes.
And I'm a person I can laugh at myself and laugh at others. Very outspoken. And that's what, because I know the men, the black men in my community, they said, we can't have a meeting. We don't even invite her to the meetings. And here she comes. She heard that we were having a meeting. She wanted to say hello. But it wasn't that. I knew that they were having a meeting, and I wanted to invade their premises, you see, and find out what was going on. And I would invade. And when they saw me coming, they almost dropped dead. I really was not very nice in terms of how I had to react to them. But that was the only way I could react. That was the only way I could move out, because they wouldn't give me a chance, because they were afraid of my mouth.
And afraid of change.
Yes.
Yes, of
that
course.
was it. Yeah, that was it.
And the influence you would have on other women, I'm
That's,
sure.
Oh, the women. I brought the whole neighborhood behind me. That was the women.
Yes,
That's right.
of course.
Mm-hmm. Everything was Shirley. The limelight was on Shirley. And this was one of the reasons why my first marriage cracked up after 24 years, because it put my husband in a position of becoming extremely jealous.
I see.
He became very, very jealous, and I could understand, because no attention was being paid to him. And everything was Shirley this, Shirley that. And then they would say, he's the husband of Shirley Chisholm. And you can imagine what it does to a person's ego after a while. And so that was the thing that really led to the breakup of my marriage. This business of his being jealous, and everybody catering to his wife, Shirley. For the first 2 to 3 months, I was miserable. The gentleman did not pay me any mind at all. When I would go to the lunchroom to eat, they would not sit at the same table as I did, because I was a black woman. It was horrible. And I'll give you 2 little incidents that perhaps it shows you that I have a sense of humor about a lot of things. There was a little dining room beneath the house, the floor of the house, and that was the place where we could go to get a bite if we were going to have a long day. And I did not know that in that dining room the tables were designated to the different delegations. There was a table for New York, a table for Alabama, a table for... And I went one day to go down and sit at the table. Well, I sat at a table because nobody was sitting there. 10 chairs to the table. And I ordered my lunch. I was very hungry that day. And I got dessert and salad and a little bit of everything put on the table. And I always took the New York Times and read it while I was eating, because nobody would sit by me. So this day, I felt something hovering around me. I looked up, and if looks could kill, I would have been dead. Because I was seated at the Georgian delegation table and didn't know it.
Oh my goodness, of all tables.
I was at the Georgian delegation table and didn't know it. And this man stood up and looked at me and said, "You sit at the wrong table." I said, "What did you say?" He said, "I say, you sit at the wrong table." I said, "What table is this?" "Yeah, your delegation." Oh, I said, "But you see, the tables do not have any labels." I didn't know, but tomorrow I will find out where New York sits here, and then I will go to New York. So I continued to eat. And he continued, "Ah, says." You sit at the Georgia delegation table. And I said, I say, if you don't move from here, I will so and so and so. But then I began to feel sorry for him because he was hungry. And I decided to use a different psychological approach. And I said, you're hungry, aren't you? And it's the first time he gave me a smile because I was nice to him. I said, you're hungry. He said, sure, I'm hungry. I said, I know what your problem is. Your problem is you cannot sit at this table because a black person is seated at the table. Is that right? He said, yeah. I said, I am going to help you. You see that table over there? There's a table diagonally across from the table I was sitting, and there's nobody at it. I said, look, you go over and you sit to that table, you order your lunch. And if anybody bothers you, you tell them, see Shirley Chisholm. I thought this would embarrass him, but it did not. This was the funniest thing to me. It did not embarrass him. He went right over to the table, and he sat, and he sat down.
It just proves how ludicrous all this is.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Then there's this other one, and this almost brought the house down. There was a gentleman that sat on the aisle on the house floor. My office was on the other side of the building, so when I would come to the floor, he could see me coming through because my office was on that side of the building upstairs, and he could see me coming down because where I was going to sit was right behind him. And every day I would come down and come through, and he would cough so badly. So one day I said to Brock Adams, who was the representative from the state of Washington, I said, why don't somebody do something for that poor man? He sounds like he has TB. There's something wrong with him.
Yes.
And he said, Shirley, I was waiting for you. He said, I want to tell you something. You got to do something. I said, what? He said, every time he sees you coming down and coming through, he starts coughing. And then when you come by his seat, he gets his handkerchief out. He spits in the handkerchief in your face. This was his way of greeting me in the United States House of Representatives. I said, he does, bro? I said, I thought. He said, what are you going to do about it? I said, watch me tomorrow. I had a sweater suit. And the jacket of the sweater had big pockets. And I went out and purchased a male handkerchief. And I put it in the pocket. And the next day when I came in, sure enough, he started a coughing. I said, baby, I'm going to fix you today. So just as I came in, he was going by the seat. By then, I had it synchronized as to when he would pull the handkerchief out to meet my face and then spit in the handkerchief. I said, yes, sir, that day, pull the handkerchief out just in time to spit in it and throw it in his face. And I said to him, beat you to today. From that day, he never coughed anymore.
I bet he didn't. There is that persistence.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, not putting up with nonsense.
Yes, that's right. That's right, sure. And the men, I'll never forget, the men upstairs in the balcony, there were the newspaper men, and they saw this from upstairs in the balcony as I was coming in, and they almost toppled over the top. They roared, and the speaker had to pick there'll be order in this house.
But you know, it sounds like you also had allies.
Oh, yes.
Because people were roaring, for example.
Oh, yeah. And another thing, the house was so boring at times that they'd do anything, to make, to have something. Sure, give it to you.
Was it difficult to return to Congress after your campaign for president?
No, it was not difficult.
No?
I became even more popular. More popular,
More popular.
Yeah, more popular.
Was there any noticeable change in the way your colleagues treated you in Congress?
Oh, yes.
What happened?
They treated me strange. They didn't realize I was so smart. In quotes. They were really, some of them approached me and said, you got a brain. I said, I've always had a brain. They belittle women so badly.
Yes. Do you think that is still a problem?
Oh, no, it's gone. No, because the women that we have in Congress now, we have 43 women in Congress.
Yes.
They give them the business.
They do?
Oh, yes. They give them the business. I wouldn't be surprised another 10 years from now
Yes.
we don't have half and half.
Yes.
I will not
Let's
be
hope
surprised.
so.
More and more women are getting the guts and to run.
What about for the presidency?
Oh, a woman is going to be president.
Within the next 10 years, maybe?
Next 25 years.
25
Yeah,
years?
yes, a woman's going to be president.
Do you think it will be a woman of color?
No. Mm-mm. I believe that before a woman can become president of this country, a woman has to be a vice president, first of all, so that we will get used to the idea of a woman ascending that high office. That's what I believe. I don't know.
See.
Yeah.
Fantastic. In 1982, you decided not to seek another term in Congress. Why did you make that decision?
Reagan.
Tell us about Reagan.
Many of the programs and many of the things that I've been interested in, I saw how they deteriorated. I saw how many things were pushed back on the back burner. And many of the things that I had been involved in were no longer a part of his overall domestic programs. And it was just too much. I said I didn't want to go through it anymore.
That was it.
That was it. I had enough. Yes, that was it. Mm-hmm. Well, I realized that the reason that black children were not getting along was because we didn't have access to scholarships. And I was determined that while I was in the assembly that I would have to work in the field of education. And so I brought this program in, SEEK, Search for Education and Knowledge. It was a battle, but I won it. I won it, and black youth were able to get scholarships, and black youth were able to move out. And I felt very strongly in looking around me in the neighborhood and to see all of the black youth not having the same opportunities as the white youth did because of the fact that they were going to inferior schools, inferior kinds of schools, that this was very important to me. And so while I was in the assembly, I worked a great deal in the field of education.
And of course, that is your background anyway.
Yes, my background. Yes, that's right.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then the female teachers. I understand that what you worked on was to enable them to have tenure while they were on maternity leave.
Yes. Teachers were so upset. They go on maternity leave and nobody does anything. You know, you go, you come back, you don't have your job, and so I fought that, and I won that.
Thank goodness.
Yes, but that was a terrible, terrible battle. But I won. Because I would not, one thing about me, as you said, I'm a very tenacious person. I hold on. I really do hold on.
No matter what.
Yes, that's right. Hold on, no matter what. Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to do this, to run for president of the United States?
What made me decide was that I felt that the time had come when a black person or a female person could and should be president of these United States of America, not only white males. And I decided somebody had to get it started.
Were you the first African-American?
Yes.
Not only the first African-American woman, but the first African-American to run for president of the United States.
That's right.
Yes.
And what I did, I felt that just about 4 years before, I had gone to the Congress as the first black person to be elected to the Congress. And I had gone on a number of speaking engagements through the country. And there was a fantastic development for me as an individual. And people were encouraging me, Ms. Chisholm, you should run. You should run because you're a woman. We never had a woman president. You're black. We never had a black person for president. You speak Spanish. You have a lot of things, and you have a knowledge of the issues. Run. And that's what motivated me to make the bid. Yes, spurred me on. But I knew I would be in trouble because the moment that the announcement was made that I was going to make a bid for the presidency, all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose from black men, white men, Puerto Rican men. Hell broke loose.
Yes.
See, and I kind of expected it. I expected it.
During that time when you ran for the president, it must have been absolutely chaotic.
Oh, it was.
And the media, did you think that the media treated you properly? overall?
No, they did not. They did not treat me properly at all, particularly in the South. But the one thing in the South that was very strange was George Wallace.
Oh, yes.
George Wallace, for some strange, unknown reason, he liked me. And when we were running in the Floridian primary, John Lindsay, who was the mayor of New York, begged me to pull back because I was beating him in Florida. And I would not pull back. I said, no, this is my time.
Oh, that is such a surprise
Yes.
that you would not do that.
I would not do it.
Yes,
And
yes.
George Wallace came down to Florida, and he went all over Florida, and he said to the people, if y'all can't vote for me, don't vote for those oval-headed lizards. Vote for Shirley Chisholm. And that crashed my votes because they thought I was in league with him to get votes. That's what killed me in Florida.
Oh.
You see, because he came out for me if people couldn't vote for him.
Yes.
So they said, well, I guess Shirley Chisholm made some kind of agreement with George Wallace.
Yes, behind the scenes.
Yes, that's right.
And then, of course, when he was shot,
Yes.
you visited him, and I understand
When I visited him when he was shot, I almost lost my seat. I went to the hospital to visit him, and all of us who were running for president at that time, Jackson, and Wilbur Mills, and John Lindsay, because there were 13 of us who were out there in the race in 1972, and I went to see him. Oh my gosh, I knew that I was going to be thrown out of office. The people in my district came down on me like anything. And I had 2 big public forums, and I said, this is not the way we do it. And I had to lecture to them and let them know that I wouldn't want this to happen to anybody. So I kind of brought them along, but that was one time that I almost lost my seat, even though I was still holding it, because I went to visit George Wallace. And when I went to visit George Wallace, he was in the bed. I'll never forget this. All the tubes were coming through his nostrils, his throat, and he was lying in the bed. He was propped up, and I was coming through the door, and he said, Shirley Chisholm, what you doing here? You shouldn't be here. I said, I'm here because you are ill, and you are ill for a good reason. God guides us. And he looked up, and I couldn't stay long because he was very ill, and the doctors told me, Congresswoman, you'll have to leave him. And he held on to my hand so tightly, he didn't want me to go. But the platform is things that I was talking to you earlier about.
Education.
Education, better housing, paying attention to our health problems, that it's always the same
Always
thing.
the same issues.
Always the same. So it's an amazing thing that how it doesn't change.
Yes. Welfare, too, I suppose.
Yes, yes.
Wow. It is awful, isn't it?
Yes.
However, there were some black men who supported you.
Oh, yes.
I understand the Rondellums and Parren Mitchell. At least, you know, there were some very conscientious men in this group.
There were some very and these conscientious men, Rondellums and Parren Mitchell, they were trying to talk to their brothers and say, give her a chance. She has ability. She has talent. Shirley's no dummy. And they almost just told them, get lost.
Yes. But how wonderful that they did that, despite the fact that most of their peers did not.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, hooray to them. What went through your mind as your name went into the nomination at the 1972 Democratic National Convention? Just when you heard your name.
Well, you know, I was embarrassed. You know, I don't know what it was. But George Wallace's delegates, they jumped out of their seats and they go, Shirley, go. You know, I couldn't understand this. That the Southerners, particularly from the state of Alabama, because the state of Alabama is seated right down front at the convention center. And they almost went wild and all the people from New York and Pennsylvania, they were like, what's going on here? Shirley supporting them. You know, I couldn't control it. For some reason, I'll never be able, I would like to understand this, why the state of Alabama led by George Wallace at that time, had good feelings, good vibes about me. It's very, very strange.
That is.
Yeah, very strange.
You don't think it was a setup in any way, do you?
No,
to dilute your
No, I don't think
power.
so. I don't think so. I don't know what it was, but they really...
That must have been quite a sight to see. These delegates from Alabama.
I want to tell them, sit down. A leader has to know that he knows. And he has to be able, he or she,
yes.
And he has to be able to withstand the insults and the kind of things that are thrown in your direction. And you have to really have a spirit and a mind which dictates only to you, and to know within yourself that what you are doing is the right thing to do, because that's what you feel. And you should not look to anybody at all for approval of what you are about. And a leader has to really stand at the head of the flock and beckon them to follow. My greatest achievement, believe it or not, is that I had the audacity and the nerve to make a bid for the presidency of the United States of America. I really think that's my greatest achievement.
What is your strongest regret?
You know, to tell you the truth, I don't really regret anything that I've done. I really don't.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. I want history to remember me, not that I was the first black woman to be elected to the Congress, not as the first black woman to have made a bid for the presidency of the United States, but as a black woman who lived in the 20th century and who dared to be herself. I want to be remembered as a catalyst for change in America. Get a good education. Follow your mind. Follow the dictates of your conscience. Do what you think and feel has to be done in order for you to achieve. And you'll be able to succeed. I really believe that.
Do you think that young African Americans feel hopeful?
No.
Okay.
No,
do you think
don't.
that is self-defeating if you're hopeless?
Yes. Yes.
So what can be done to make young people see that they can be hopeful?
All you can constantly lecture to them and constantly answer their queries and their questions about things. But so much of it has to do with the kind of environment in which they're reared.
Yes. Then, of course, young people are bombarded with negative images, too.
Yes.
From different forms
That's
of media.
Right.
So that those repetitive messages perhaps are making them feel hopeless or defining them.
That's right.
That they believe these definitions.
Yes.
What can be done, do you think? What can be done to counter these repetitive negative messages and images?
I still say that basically you always have to go back to the environment in which they're being reared. You always have to go back to that. I know of young people, I had to get a few of them straightened out a few weeks ago. Don't give me that answer. Don't tell me that. They didn't want to get high marks in their class because it means that they think they're it. They just want to be mediocre individuals. And I told them straight, there's too much mediocrity in this country. Too much.
Yes.
You've got to excel because excellence reaps rewards. I want history to remember me, not that I was the first black woman to be elected to the Congress, not as the first black woman to have made a bid for the presidency of the United States, but as a black woman who lived in the 20th century and who dared to be herself. I want to be remembered as a catalyst for change in America.
This clip is brought to you by the National Visionary Leadership Project, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to inspire and unite generations by collecting and sharing the oral histories of extraordinary African American pioneers. To see more oral history videos, log on to www.visionaryproject.org.